Hey everyone and welcome back. At the end of the last video, I completed the die filer and I have to say I'm very happy with how it turned out. For this final part, I want to get it mounted and powered up so I can take a few test cuts. A very common method of powering these machines would be to use a belt drive and pulley, but this would involve producing a large motor mount, so I took a different approach. A very common motor that is used in these situations is a Sherline 90V DC motor. I've taken this one off my Sherline lathe and I'm going to make use of its included chuck, spindle and mounting system. I'm going to make use of some offcuts of aluminium from a previous project. The part was put in the mill and I used the fly cutter to face the aluminium. Since I'm making the top and bottom, I'll be facing both of them at the same time. I didn't have enough height on the aluminium, so I'll be using an old method that I employed when I first made my quick change tool post. A piece of mild steel was clamped to the centre of the aluminium. I drilled a hole in the middle and countersunk the hole. It was then tapped for M5 and a machine screw was screwed in. A bit of superglue will act as a decent thread locker. Superglue is CA based, as are most thread lockers, so in a pinch, this works just fine. With the machine screws in place, I changed to a 60-degree dovetail cutter, and I machined a dovetail into the mild steel. Now I know the piece is bolted in quite well, but I made sure to take pretty light cuts, not to make any mistakes. I then used an end mill to remove some of the excess on each end. And that's the part done for the moment. I now need to produce the same inverse dovetail in the other piece of aluminium. Now I'm aware that the end mill that I'm using here has too many flutes for aluminium, but I'm still very impressed with its cutting performance. And that's the dovetails done. I don't want to use gib strips here, so the fit needs to be pretty decent. The part was then turned 90 degrees and 3 holes were drilled and tapped for some blocking screws. The two parts were then clamped together and each end was faced. The next thing that I needed to make was a hole and counterbore for the locking stud for the Sherline motor. Now I don't have a large enough counterbore tool, so I had to resort to using a spade bit. I know it's really only meant for wood, but if you play around with the RPM, you can get some pretty decent chips in some softer metals. And the final thing left to do is machine a 6mm slot for a key. The next part that I need to make is the locking stud, and I'll be making it from some brass. I mixed up some epoxy and I then glued the brass stud into place. Its main job will be just to hold the stud in place, so epoxy will do a fine enough job. The final part that I'll make will be some nylon pins that will help lock the slide in place. I haven't done much machining in nylon before, so initially I took a series of light cuts, but as the part got thinner, I got a lot of deflection in the part. So instead, I opted to take one pass at a full depth of cut, and the result was a lot better than before. And that's the part done. I'll be mounting the machine and motor to a piece of pine. The cast iron was marked out and drilled out using an 8.5mm drill. It was then tapped for M10. The pine was then drilled to accept some locking studs and counterbored to accept some flange nuts. I then drilled out the aluminium and tapped it for M10. Before mounting everything, I opted to give the piece of wood a coat of new paint. Whilst the paint was drying, I tack welded some extra bracing to the steel plate. So let's mount the die filer and motor. The cast iron is the first thing to be attached, and then the rest of the die filer is bolted onto the base. The motor is mounted to the slide and it's then slid onto the shaft and locked in place. This part will get minimum work, so a little bit of light oil on the slides will keep the aluminium wear close to zero. The chuck is then tightened around the drive shaft. And that's the machine done. And as you can see, it's running very nicely. There's a little bit of knock since the brass lug is a tiny bit undersized, though that can always be fixed in the future, but apart from that, it's running very smoothly. Though the big question is, how does it cut? I've been asked about the fact that these small needle files cut on the upstroke, and I haven't noticed any issues. As long as you put a little bit of pressure on the part, you'll be fine. and the part I've been machining has turned out really nicely. The cut is perpendicular and the finish is really nice. I then filed a small radius into the brass, and it's amazing how close and up to the line you can really get with a filing machine. Finally, I did a bit of freehand squaring up a circle, and it turned out very nice. Overall, I'm very happy with this machine. Brass wear has been minimal, and the part runs very smoothly. All I have to do before using it is give it a quick oil. The only thing I'm planning on changing in the future is to get a bit of thicker plate for when I file larger items. I'm also planning on changing files in the future. These P&N files are fine, but they really aren't made for die files. They aren't straight, and depending on how you mount them, they may not go up and down perfectly straight. These will do for the moment, but I'm looking at getting some Gros Bay or Nicholson files in the future. And that's it for now. I really hope you enjoyed this video and enjoyed this build series. And with that, thank you very much for watching. See you next time.